If you are wondering how to learn calligraphy for beginners, this video is for you. I'm going to cover how to write in calligraphy with a regular pen and cover some calligraphy styles and tools. So we'll start with what is calligraphy. I will share calligraphy supplies with you. We will create your first piece together. So if you've never done calligraphy, grab a regular pen, any normal pen you have, and some paper, and we'll do some calligraphy together step by step. We'll talk about the basic strokes, some practice tips at the end, and I'll share some free practice resources with you. Hi, my name is Jillian, and my twin sister Jordan and I founded Loveleigh Loops in 2017 to teach people like you how to do calligraphy. Since then, we've taught tens of thousands of students in our dozen online courses. And a fun fact is we actually took our first calligraphy class when we were kids. So here's a picture from that class. We were 11 years old. We learned how to write an italic calligraphy style with a broad edge pen, and it was a great experience. So if you have kids or know anyone who's young and wants to learn calligraphy, definitely encourage them to do so. Okay, so what is calligraphy? You probably have a visual in your mind of what it is. The general definition is the art of beautiful writing. So there's different calligraphy styles. On the left, I have some examples of broad edge calligraphy. So you can think like Gothic, italic, black letter calligraphy. And then on the right is the style that we teach. This is copperplate based script. And there are different styles you can do based on this script. So on the left is a more fancy looking, elegant style with flourishes, and then on the right is more of a modern calligraphy style, and both of them are based on copperplate script. So to dig into that a little more, look at these letters here. So you can see that the letters are connected together, similar but different to cursive. So similar in that they're connected together, but different in that we actually lift our pen between every letter and every stroke in calligraphy. You'll also notice that the letters have thick and thin lines, so there's a contrast within the strokes of lines that are thicker and lines that are thinner, and I'll tell you the secret of how that works when we do our demo. But first, let's talk about some calligraphy pens and styles. So here are the main tools that usually are used for calligraphy on paper: brush pens, broad edge nib, a pointed pen, and then any regular pen can be used for faux calligraphy, which is what we are going to do today. I'm going to teach you how to write like this. You can actually use an Apple Pencil to do calligraphy on an iPad, which we do that. We love it. It's so much fun to write digitally. And if you don't have any of these tools, you can do calligraphy with a regular pencil. So we're going to create your first calligraphy piece together. Grab any pen and paper you have, and let's get started. So first I want you to write the word joy. You can, again, use like a gel pen, ballpoint pen, or just a pencil. So first write the word joy on your paper, and it's okay if you don't know cursive or have never done this before. Just try to write it so that your letters are connected together like you see on screen. Next, we're going to thicken certain parts of the letter. So let's start with the J. We're going to add thickness to that stroke that's coming down. So add a parallel line to the line that you've already drawn to make that piece thicker. Then for the O, you're going to add it on that left side of the oval. So the part of the curve that's coming downward, you're going to add another stroke. And then for the Y, you can add it in two spots. So that first U shape that you drew, you'll add it on that first downstroke. And then on that main stem of the loop, you'll add a parallel line just like that, just like you did on the J. Once you've done that, you can color in that outlined area. Oh, you can also make the dot of your J a little bit bigger if you did this in lowercase. And ta-da, it should look something like this. So you can add today's date so that maybe in a couple weeks after you've been practicing, you can look back at how much you've improved. How did it go? I'd love to know in the comments. Also, if you're liking this video, I'd love it if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Okay, so which parts of the letters did we thicken? There was a rhyme and reason to this. I remember when I first started, I just thought you added shading like randomly. So hopefully this will save you some of the time it took me to learn calligraphy. So the downstrokes are where we add the thick shades. Anywhere that your pen moves in a downward direction as you write the letter, that's where we've added the shading. Here's another example of a whole word with First written in monoline, so mono weight means that your letters are the same thickness throughout, so that's how you'll start. Then in the second step, you're going to add on the downstrokes that parallel line to your stroke, and then at the end you can fill it in, or you can leave it open if you want. So you're going to aim to make the thick strokes the same width. On the left, I've isolated just the thick strokes of the word joy. They're about the same width as each other. On the right, I have them very different widths, like very wide and very narrow. So you want to avoid that because in context, like in the word gratitude here, you can see on the top, all my thick strokes are different width and it just ends up looking a little less refined versus the bottom one is going to look more consistent and beautiful. Okay, another tip about calligraphy is that letters can be broken down into a handful of shapes. So if you look at any lowercase letter of the calligraphy alphabet and kind of separate the pieces, you'll get a handful of shapes. And these are called the basic strokes. So this part is important. The basic strokes are kind of the foundation of calligraphy. We do have a whole separate video that goes way in depth into the history and more information, but just a quick intro. So these are the basic strokes. These are their names. And when you combine these strokes together, you get letters. So I have a free worksheet for you to download. I'll share the link at the end. So you don't have to take notes here. You can just kind of watch. So for example, the letters A, G, and J on screen here, I've color coded the basic strokes so that you can see them in action. So the blue ovals are exactly the same in the A and the G. And then the yellow descending loop is the same in the G, the J, and other letters too, like Y. So using the basic strokes helps make your letters more consistent. Okay, so just a quick recap of what we've talked about so far. So when you write in calligraphy, you're going to add shading on your downstrokes, anywhere your pen comes down. You are aiming for consistency in the thickness, and then you're also aiming to use consistent basic strokes. I want to show you a couple of different types of calligraphy pens you can use. So for brush pen calligraphy, you would use a brush pen. So for a regular pen, when you write with it, it's always going to be the same width, but a brush pen is flexible. So as you press down harder on a brush pen on your page, you get a thick stroke, you get a fatter stroke. And then if you use less pressure, like you write really lightly, you get a thin stroke. That's because the brush pen is flexible. You may have used like a Crayola marker, you know that you can get different thicknesses with your line. So yeah, the brush pen uses, or brush lettering uses brush pens. There's small brush pens, large brush pens, they're great. They're, again, a flexible marker. You press down harder for thick strokes, and they're pretty easy to get started with for calligraphy. Now, another tool you could use is called a pointed pen. This is a little bit more tricky to use because you need more supplies, but it ends up looking so elegant and impressive. Some people just love using pointed pen, and some people use brush pen, so I always recommend trying both because you may surprise yourself with which one you like the most. So a steel nib is at the end of the pen holder, and it comes to a point, which is why it's called pointed pen, and you dip it in a jar of liquid ink. So then when you write on the page, the ink flows out. So you do need to get additional calligraphy tools with this. You need the pen holder, which is the thing that you hold, then the steel nibs, which come to a point at the top, and when you press down, the nib tines flare out so that you can get the thick stroke. And then of course you would need ink to dip it in. I've shown black ink here, but you can use some beautiful gold ink. You can even use watercolors, paints to do point and pen calligraphy. Anything that you can dip into a liquid is going to look beautiful. So whatever your calligraphy pen you're using, you will want some practice paper. And even for just practice, we want to make sure you're using high quality paper. If you use something that's low quality, like regular copy paper, it can be pretty rough and pretty tough on your pens. So like a brush pen can get frayed. I'll show you a picture of what that looks like in a second. So high quality printer paper like HP Premium, marker paper is what Jordan and I use most of the time when we're practicing. It's great. So you want to avoid, again, getting rough paper because it can damage your brush pens. The picture on the top shows if you use a brush pen for a while on rough paper, it makes the end of it sort of frayed and it can damage it. So you just want to try to get higher quality smooth paper. And then I would also avoid going to the store and just buying a generic calligraphy kit if you don't know what you're looking for. I did that when I first got started, like as an adult in calligraphy. When I was trying to learn on my own, I just bought a calligraphy kit, and it was not what I was expecting. It was a broad edge. Anyway, so I would recommend looking for specific pens instead of a kit. You can find tons of information on our blog about the supplies that we recommend. Okay, so I'd like to finish with some practice tips on how you can continue improving the quick lesson that you learned today. So I'd like you to look at the word that you wrote today and look at the angle of your downstrokes. So like the main stem of the J in joy. If yours is very upright, then one thing you could try next time you practice is making it at a little bit more of a slant angle. All of your downstrokes should be at a little bit of an angle. And this is going to be like, this was a game changer when I realized this. My old work on the left here, before I knew what I was doing, everything I made it super upright. But then when I started to slant it a little bit, it looked more elegant. So to get a consistent slant angle, you can use calligraphy guide sheets to practice on. I'll have some free ones linked below in the description. So a few more tips. You can review what you learned today, go back and rewrite the word knowing what you know now. You can rewrite the word joy, incorporating the tips that you've learned, or maybe try a different word like your name. Once you've practiced a little bit, it's really important to learn the basic strokes of calligraphy. I'll give you the free worksheet in a second. And then practice often. So it's more impactful to practice for just 5 minutes a day, focusing on one small thing, than it is to practice for like 2 hours one day and then not practice for a couple months and then pick it back up. I'm sure you already know this, but it could be helpful to leave your supplies out and nearby so that you're motivated to just pick up the pen and practice every day. If I see a pen out, it's like impossible for me not to just start writing in calligraphy. Focus on one letter a day as you're getting started, and always add the date to your work so that you can see your progress and see how much you're improving. Then you can go deeper with what interests you. So if you found one of the styles that I shared today is something that you want to keep learning, then maybe look to see if there's an in-person class in wherever you live, or find a book, online courses. We have lots of online courses on our website that you can check out, and just go deeper with whatever you feel excited to learn. And the most important tip is to have fun. This is a really exciting hobby. It's a creative, relaxing hobby. There's so many possibilities, so you can just have fun making it your own. So to get your free basic strokes worksheet so that you can start practicing your basic strokes and letters, go to lovelyloops.com/basics. You can find the link in the description below. So tell me in the comments, how did it go today? How did your word look? How did your name look if you tried writing your name? I'd love to continue cheering you on. Please keep working at it. Calligraphy is a hobby that has so many benefits and is just so satisfying to do. So Jordan and I have, again, tons of resources on our website. We have some free practice resources linked in the description, and we are here to help you at every step of the journey. Thank you for watching. If you watched all the way to the end, then give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.